Okay. It is Sunday. It is art day. How is everybody doing? It's a holiday weekend in the States. So we've got that going. Traffic I don't think will be as bad today because everybody is already down at the state park down the street for the craft fair weekend and square dancing shenanigans. Alright, so today we have some grassy things to work on getting put in. So I'm gonna work on that. I just need to get a couple of colors pulled out here because I realized I don't really have that much variation when it comes to shades of green. Those two are almost identical. So that might work. Yeah, I'm gonna put back in the bag. So I mean, we've got some yeah, there's definitely duplicates because these two look the same here. I think it was more like 50 colors, 50 regular colors, and then I think they duped the more popular ones, to be perfectly honest. Alright, so don't see any of that other green. I'm gonna have to dump this whole thing out to find it because it's probably gonna be buried in the middle of the bag. So yeah, this was a sample set of roving I got from Habby Arts and Crafts or something. I don't know. But I'd gotten that before we had really gotten into this, and just to see if I wanted to do it, and I do, so now we can spend the money on other supplies to get more of a variation here. So alright, so one of the things that we haven't done yet was putting in some of our grassy spots, and we're going to start to work on that now. So I think these 3 colors should be enough to get us to where we want to be, hopefully. I'm not sure how I want to do. I want to do like, or do I want to do up and down? I don't know. I mean, we could go wispy. That might be a little bit more involved to get that in. Well, let's see. How that starts to look. I mean, that's the same color there, so I lost my scissors. I don't know if I want to. Maybe base should be like rolling hills, and then we can add some little wispy guys standing up on top of it, maybe? I don't know. Alright. Well, maybe we can figure out something here. Okay, so... Alright, let's pick a spot here. And just kind of start diving in. I don't really want that covering the tree there. I'm sure it's gonna do what it wants here, but now I'm just kind of trying to tap in the bottom edge of this, and then I'm gonna scrape very gently across the top edge before I start tapping that in. Now he can get all these little micro effects and stuff with his paintbrush and make it look like it's 1,500 blades of grass and stuff. We won't be able to pull that off exactly. Oh right, I forgot to do the thing. So we're following along with Bob Ross's Joy of Painting tutorial, Season 3, Episode 3. That's going to be Bubbling Stream. And if you want to see the tutorial in full, there is the link to his YouTube channel. And you'll find that in a whole bunch of other seasons and stuff there. And we've already followed along with the first 2 episodes of this season. Though there's gonna be at least, well, we might be skipping one. I haven't fully decided yet, since I have picked up a few more colors that might make that one possible. But like I said, I don't really know yet. Gonna have to see how that goes. Alright, so I'm gonna maybe make this a little bit more airy so we get some of that bottom color poking through. Now this kind of is a little bit of a more robust bit of taller grass, or maybe it's a little bush trying to get going here that seems to be in front of this green, this orange guy. Sorry for the weird angle that the tutorial in the bottom corner is paused on. He doesn't really get a full shot of what he's done so far for a while, and that kind of surprised me. I was like, oh, well, we can't see where we're at here except for this weird 3/4 angle on the canvas, and I was hoping that once he had finished that last tree on the end that they were going to pull back and show the current state of things, and they didn't. He jumped into something else, so I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of had to dig back through the tutorial a little bit to try to figure out a good spot to pause it and not be too ahead of ourselves. So he doesn't put a whole lot of the grass in just yet, but there is a little bit in here, and I probably should have started in the middle and worked my way out to the edge, but that's alright. At this moment, I think that will be okay. Do you want me to get him? Husband? You want me to get him?
No, I'll get him in a minute.
Okay. Momo's being Momo. That's the only way I can describe it. Get this start to be worked in here. Now this one's a little bit not quite wanting to, like this tree's a little lumpy in there, but that's alright. You get that smushed in a frame and that should be just fine. Alright, so I'm gonna try to leave a little bit of thinness in spots here just so we can see some of that groundwork that we did earlier that's gonna blend in with everything else. Alright, so it's kind of coming down on into here. So we're only taking this down so far at the moment. I don't want it to get too carried away here because there's going to be another color coming in here at some point that I forgot to grab off of the fluff wall. Because fluff wall's not behind me. There's not enough room to put it behind me. I wish my chair would be knocking it off. I have it on the other side of my window here, so it's not within easy grabbing distance anymore. But we had accumulated so much fluff that it definitely had to get shifted. Alright. So let's see. Alright, so we've got some fluff hanging out over here, this color. that worked in there. And this is probably just gonna come down, well, I mean, the whole thing's gonna come down to really where you want it to sit, within reason. But we still have to get our stream in here. So that's gonna be probably one of the trickier bits. That's kind of why we're doing it this way. We're still following Bob, for the most part. Motorcycle. Been a lot of those this weekend. Oh my goodness, I was on the podcast last night and I don't think it came through because I don't think I was talking at the time, and thank goodness I wasn't. But all of a sudden, somebody outside somewhere going by, I think they were on the back of a motorcycle or in a car, and they were yelling out their car window. It sounded like a friggin' human velociraptor screaming. And no idea what the hell that was about. I think it was people just being dumb, being hyped up from the parade and stuff earlier in the day, but oh my goodness. Totally unnecessary. Just like, wow. My goodness. Alright, got a little bit more fluffy action, or grass action happening on the other side of this tree. So since, you know, we can only do so much with the fluff, right? So, because it's not paint. I feel like paint sometimes you can convey movement a bit more with your brush strokes and stuff. This is going to be a little bit harder. So we kind of have to try to tap it in and kind of line it up with how the ground would be laid out, or like manipulate how we're laying it down and the angles that we're laying it down at. Sorry, it's fall allergy season and it's gonna keep going till like November, so yay. Not really. Not happy about that, but not a whole lot that I can do about that. I could take something, but then I'd be knocked on my ass and not able to function for the rest of the day, so that's not really ideal. And now Zuzu has figured out that... Wow, he just started whining because you were outside.
Yeah, it won't go out when I try it again.
Alright, let's... Maybe he just wanted to be outside with brother. Come on, Zuzu, let's go potty.
Come on. Oh, he's sitting on the fence. Well, you didn't fight it. Take it back again.
So we'll get this guy tapped in here. Oh my. My stomach is growling. I hope that didn't get picked up. I actually got some sleep. I'm still tired as shit, but I got some sleep, so that's something. Alright. So I like how we've got some of this brown poking through in spots. That's good. I'm feeling that. Again, this is a step you guys don't have to do. You don't have to constantly pick it up off of whatever matte surface you're using. It's just on this particular matte surface, if I don't, it's pretty lumpy for me pulling it up. If I don't, it like felts itself to the mat and then I have a really hard time pulling it up. So it's just easier for me to do that every once in a while. I'm probably not supposed to, but I do. Okay. So let's get this little bit of section tapped in here alongside our tree. I'm gonna try to stay as even with the edge as I can, but you know, if we need to trim it, we need to trim it. That's fine. All this section's gonna get cut off anyway. So that's fine. Alright. So we'll get this little bit worked in here. And I'm actually going to need a little bit more. So we didn't quite get close enough to our tree trunk here. I want it to be a little bit closer. That's also why I tend to go a little bit slower here. So that way I can make adjustments as we go if I need to. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay. Alright, so we got that. And I think actually that back section might need to be, if I can get it to let go, a little bit closer to the tree as well. Doesn't have to be tremendously so, but kind of want that gap filled in a bit more there. All right. Oh, did I do the thing? I did. Okay. I wasn't sure if I had remembered. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I will write the tweet out and then forget to hit tweet. 'Cause I'm wonderful that way. And half the time I don't realize I didn't do the tweet until long after. See, that's still quite a bit of a gap in there. But I didn't really want to completely encroach on the tree, but I'll at least have some kind of grass up near it. We'll see how that treats us here. Maybe that will be enough to get the job done. That's better. Okay. Alright, now let's see here. So we've got a little bit more of this kinda fluffing down into here. Just a little bit. Let's see what we can get out of this piece of fluff. I am going to have to get up and grab that other bag. Here in just a minute. I don't know why I didn't grab it when I grabbed the green here. I don't know, something with my brain was just like, nope, you don't need that today. Well, I'm actually going to need some more of the camel too while I'm thinking about it. Because I forgot we have to highlight it. Alright. I mean, we've kind of got a little bit of a floofy forest on the back. I mean, the back's not what we're really looking at here, but Alright, now we need to get some darker green in here, so we're going to take some of the wool roving that I've got from that sample set. And we're going to pull a little bit of that in. To get a little bit of our darker shades coming in here. I just don't have quite the right dark shade in the other stuff. But that's okay. There's no reason why these two can't be happy together. Oh wow, this is like, oh, okay. I forgot, our tree placement is not quite the same as Bob's tree placement. So, trying to follow exactly where he's got his laid out is probably not gonna work quite right. So in that case, we're just gonna come in here and kind of work out where we think this should sit. Like I said, there's been a lot of motorcycles, so I apologize. I'm not quite sure why there's been so many out this weekend. I don't know if it's all the tourists in town or what. Extremely doubtful it's the vendors, because craft fair's still open today. So this needs to be a little bit thicker, I think. Here, I will say this piece of felt's been a little wanting to bunch a bit more than I think some of the others have. But this is still part of that multi-pack that I had picked up, so that the sizing was a little bit off on to begin with. But that's okay, we're gonna make it work. Just means the frame sizing on this one might be a little more off. You'll probably just have to get a mat. I don't frame them or mat them for sale. Number one, I'm afraid the glass is gonna break in transit. And number two, I'd much rather that you pick out a frame and mat color that you're going to enjoy, that's going to fit your decor. So this is gonna be a little bit thicker still, like wider. I guess would be the better descriptor. Okay, so maybe just another little bit of that. Let me see, where are we at here? It's kind of hard to tell with how the painting is angled here. I feel like we've got another section in here maybe. That we should get a little bit of a darker hatch mixed in here. Doesn't need to be super big. Just a little bit. So I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a back and forth until you're happy with the shading that's going on in here. Is really what that's gonna end up coming down to in the end. Alright, so now I think we're gonna grab a little bit more of our lighter, well, I guess middle green, like our spring leafy green here. And we'll just kind of get that worked in a little bit, because I mean, it's okay to have a little bit of the ground coming through, but I also don't want too much of our yellow area coming through. I mean, a little bit's okay, but I just don't want it to be quite so in your face yellow there. So we might need to do a few adjustments and whatnot on that. Okay. Just trying to reflatten that a little bit, scoot that out. Alright, now, should have a little bit more of this color. Kind of happening at the base of this tree. And we're gonna get a little bit more of our lighter green in here in just a minute. To kind of get a little bit more shadowiness happening over here. Right. Okay, so we got that going. We'll see, it does feel like we've had a bit more fluff going through this particular sorry, I had something stabbing me. This particular set of felts. I do find fascinating. I'm not quite sure why that is. It could be because our pad is so uneven now. Don't know. We could turn it a little bit, I guess, and see what happens. I think it's just this piece of felt, to be perfectly honest. Alright. As long as we get there in the end, right? Okay. Now. Alright, now we kind of need to grab our brown. I don't like how that section's left, so I'm going to stick that over there. I don't think he came back in and did the highlights on it yet. At one point he does, so give me 1 second. I gotta go get that other color. I can find it. There it is. Those two. Actually, I'll grab this one while we're at it. Don't know if we're gonna need it, but we'll grab it. Okay. Get resituated here. Alright, so we're gonna advance the tutorial just a little bit, just so I can see where the heck we're at here. Okay, so he's talking about having some rocks to hold our stream in. So he's gonna grab a mix of burnt umber and Van Dyke brown. Alright, and he's gonna start to basically put like a rock bed in. Kind of on both sides, coming down to about here. So it's kind of coming to the edge of our section in here. Now it does amaze me that he highlights these already before he's even put the water in yet. I kind of I'm like, oh, okay. Now he's got kind of like a gray happening here. I didn't grab the gray. Maybe I should go grab the gray. I thought it was more of like a white. This looks more like soft gray to me in the colors that I have. Okay, hold up, Bob. You're gonna start doing that. Alright, I'm gonna have to hold it there. Because I think that's the best angle we're gonna get before he starts doing other stuff to it. So let me go grab that gray real quick. So, unfortunately, with the yarn being over there, I do have to get up and walk across the room to go get it now, but it's probably better where it is, because pretty soon I was going to have a bead curtain of bags of fluff. Be like walking through a jungle. Alright, so I'm gonna kind of roll this a little bit, because in this section the brown is a bit thicker, because you know it's like rocks. You don't need it to be quite so wispy, so we're gonna start to work that in here. And again, our shades aren't going to be the exact same as Bob's, but we can try to get it close. We can definitely get the point across. And that I'm pretty certain of. Just making sure that everybody's been tapped in there. Okay, so there's one section. Alright, and work on getting this next section kind of sat in here. I don't want it to be like straight across. I wanted it to be at a little bit of an angle. We might need to come back in and add a little bit more fluff over here, just to, or we could just stick some grass in there too. That is also a possibility. Alright. Now, do we really need to follow step by step? Could we just look at the end piece and try to figure it out from there? We could, but I feel like doing it this way might be a little bit easier in the long run. I know it might not seem like it, because we're going back and ultimately covering up a lot of what we've already put in, but I feel like that kind of brings everybody together a little bit more. Sorry, this was looking like it needed a little bit more attention up there. I don't know, it looks a little more put together. I'm going through all of it, to me at least. Just making sure I've gotten all of these guys tapped in and attached. And I am glad we didn't end up using this dark brown for our background, because it's popping a bit more now that it's like the dark color there. Alright, so got a bit more. Up in here. All right. So we're gonna be doing our quote-unquote rocks here for a little bit. Just while we get them kind of worked out placement-wise and stuff. All right. So this kind of up into here. And if we want to break it up a little bit, we can always bring some more grass down a little bit into the beginning edge here, just to kind of bring those together a bit better. But I kind of want to get this in first, so then we have a better idea of where everybody's sitting. And it'll be less of a headache that way, and then we can actually make it look like the grass is like covering up the edges instead of the rocks eating the grass, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Alright, now let's grab our next piece in here. I don't want to forget about our center here. I want to make sure that we've got that filled in. you know, as best as we can here. Like a little bit of that camel color poking up should be fine. I just don't want too much of this yellow shining up through. To where it looks out of place. I mean, some of this we can take care of with our highlighty color, because he just kind of swooshes it on through there before the water comes in, so I mean, that shouldn't be too much of a issue here. Again, don't forget to try to follow the way that the rocks would be sloping down into here. I know it's going to be a little difficult. But try to remember. I mean, they don't need to be like monstrously steep or anything, but just don't go straight across. That might look a little funny. All right. Get this piece here. Renegade piece of fluff attacking me. Not even sure where that came flying from. I mean, see, this is similar to this color, but this one's got a little bit more red to it going on there, so. So I am glad that we did that, although I mean the start color is going to be pretty much non-existent by the time we get everybody in here. But you never know. Alright, let's work on getting all of that good and attached. Okay. I'm gonna peel this up here. Just gonna make sure that we're not getting too bunched up. Now, I have like a piece of string or something on my shirt that keeps stabbing me. Becoming very distracting. Alright, hopefully that took care of that. Okay. I am going to back this tutorial up just a little bit though, so I can see where we're at before he started putting all that in. So my angles actually aren't quite steep enough here. Alright, so if we start up here, see if you don't have like a finger just to try to hold that down just a little bit, it'll just keep sucking all of it in. I tend to just kind of hold it down just ever so gently, just so I can see. Sometimes. Depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm doing like poofy stuff, then that's fine. But this, I kind of want to make sure of where we're going. We will see. We can get going with this. Alright, so it's a little bit steeper of an angle there. Alright, so we'll start bringing everybody else between here and there. And down a bit. Okay. So again, we're following along with Bob Ross's Joy of Painting tutorials. We are following season 3, and this is episode 3 that we're following along with. We've already done episode 1 and episode 2. The archive of those live streams can be found on my YouTube page under the Nisey Paints playlist if you're having trouble finding them. All of the live streams from Project 1 are there, or Episode 1. Along with, at the end of Episode 1, there is a sped up, quote-unquote, speed paint version of it, all in one go. It's not really much of a speed paint, though, but compared to the amount of hours the live streams were, it kind of is. So the speed paint ended up being like 5 hours long. I'm currently still editing the speed felt for the second project. Time's not been something I've had a lot of lately, so that one's taking me a little bit longer. I'm in the process of working on the 10th live stream we did on that one, and I think there's 13, so I'm getting closer to having that one done. Maybe another 2 weeks, depending on the amount of time I can spend working on that. And we are using needle felting instead of oil paint. So we're using wool roving, which is this stuff. And I'm also using acrylic yarn, which is this stuff. They look almost identical. This stuff came in like the balls from the craft store that you knit with. It's just I have to take a brush, a special brush. It's not really that special, but it's not like your standard house comb either. It's a pet grooming brush called a sticker brush, works about the best. And I run it through the strands of yarn and it turns back into this. So, before it's pre-yarn twisted state. And this is a lot gentler on my budget than this stuff is. This is wool, this is acrylic yarn. So if you have a wool allergy, you can use the acrylic yarn and get around that. And this is just a standard, this yellow thing is just standard piece of felt square from like the kids craft section of your art store or wherever you get your art supplies. I mean, even Walmart has the felt squares now. Alright, I'm just gonna pop this guy up, just kind of re-flatten out the back. I find it just helps my stuff sit a little bit flatter and doesn't get too ridgy as we're going. Right now we're in the process of putting in the rocks that are going to I guess hold the stream. So that's what we're working on right now. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the fluff into a shape that I'm looking for here, and just trying to follow the angle of how the rocks are sitting in here. Now there's going to be some breaks where this lighter color underneath is going to show. That's okay at the moment. I'm not going to stress that too hard because we still have to come back in and do some highlights through here. So the highlights might take care of that. If it's a little too much yellow poking through from the underfelt though, like that's a little yellow, I might just put a little extra dab of our dark brown on top of that, just to kind of help fill this in. Now again, ours isn't going to be completely spot on to Bob's, just because I'm not that good at spatial recognition, and he's on a much larger surface than we are working on, so we also have to try to scale it down a little bit, and we don't want to make an exact copy. I mean, that wouldn't be fun, so we're just gonna try to come up with something similar and follow along, but it's still gonna be a bit of our own. And I figured so many people have done the follow along with the paint, and we've done it too, a couple of times, where I was like, you know, I've never seen anybody follow along with this, so why not? Why heckin' not? Let's give it a try. I mean, the worst we can do is like fail miserably. Right, so I don't know, this one's not doing too bad so far. I mean, I should probably have some more tree action happening, where we don't have quite so many gaps and stuff, but that's okay. That's okay. Got quite the ghostly image happening on the back side of this, though, I will say. Alright, let's work on getting the next little bit of brown in here. So this part will probably take us a few minutes because we have to work our way down. But again, I'm not rushing. I don't want to rush with this. There's no need to rush with this. I mean, we already know this is going to take us a few weeks to work on, so this is definitely not a one session and done thing for me at the speed that I work. Because this method is definitely slower than paint. But it's also something that you don't have to wait weeks to dry, and this stuff's a little bit more travel friendly, I guess, if you don't mind carrying all your bags of fluff. I wouldn't do this outside though, unless you're like in a contained area. Like, I wouldn't have all this fluff laying around if I was outside, because I wouldn't want the wind to take it. I'd only be pulling out a little bit at a time for what I was immediately using. This stuff probably... I wouldn't plein air with this stuff, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I mean, you probably could, but it might be a little bit more of a pain. I would rather take photos and then work off the photo for this. But if, you know, having to be extra careful and having all of your fluff with you doesn't bother you, then, you know, you do what you want. Again, this is a step that you probably don't have to do. It's just one that I'm doing. I've found that if I don't periodically pull this up from my mat, it adheres itself to the mat, and then I have all kinds of fun trying to get it off of there without distorting it too badly. So this is just a me thing that I've picked up doing, based off of how I've had things go so far. So hope everybody's having a good weekend. Don't know if anybody's from the States or if you're doing anything fun for Labor Day. Labor Day is kind of a sad weekend because, you know, end of the summer and boo, and all that. And some people have to work through Labor Day weekend anyway, especially if you're retail, because it's like, oh, all the stores are going to have Labor Day sales, and it's like, can't we just have the weekend off? Like, please. But, I think, I'm not positive, but I think we'll be able to get the rest of the supplies for our gingerbread house project sometime next month. I'll be able to go hunting for them, I think. And by hunting, I mean by going to Joann's and hoping they have what I need, because half the time when I'm on their website, it's like out of stock in the store, because I'm like looking to see, you know, what they've got, and they've got like shipping options of curbside pickup, and it's like, nope, we're sold out in the store, and I'm like, really? Why is everything out of stock? Do you have anything on the shelves? I have like one other alternative if I can't get what I'm looking for. I'm really hoping I don't have to go to Hobby Lobby. I really don't want to pay for shipping right now either, but I'll have to see. It depends on how much I can't get at Joann's. If I do have to go into the dreaded Hellspawn store, I will be completely upfront about that, but do know that I am trying not to. I don't think I've set foot in that place in probably 3 years. If not a little longer. Alright. Hey, Taco. For your holiday weekend, you're watching an artist therapeutically stab things. Yeah, sometimes it can help. I just kind of like the sound more than anything on this mat. Let me rephrase that. I don't like the sound through styrofoam. That's a little harsh on the ears. So the base for our gingerbread project that we're going to be needle felting, because we're going to try to make a 3D gingerbread house that stands up, and it's going to sit on a styrofoam base. I'm going to have a tree. So I'm going to do a little bit of pre-stream prep on that and get the base all ready to go with like the snow and the felt base attached to that before we start the stream, because everybody's gonna go running for the hills hearing that through the microphone. It's not pleasant to listen to through earbuds, especially with the scritching of the needle into that styrofoam. So I'm gonna try to do that ahead of time. I will record that part, and I will have that section on the YouTube channel once we start doing that, just to kind of spare you guys. And in that section I will mute and I will lay music over that, just to so you guys don't have to hear it, but you can still see it. You're isolating this weekend, so that's fun. No COVID yet, but you were 3 feet away from a student worker for 3 hours that tested positive instantly on Friday morning. Oh no. So isolating till your PCR test Monday morning. Oh no. Oh, hopefully that comes back negative. Yeah, we were toying with maybe going to the craft fair this year, because they do it every Labor Day weekend, and they've got square dancing competition and exhibition, and I don't care about square dancing, but it's a big thing here. And they had a parade to kick off the start of the craft fair weekend and everything. And my dad had really wanted, at first, a couple months ago, he was saying he wanted to go to the fair, and I'm like, you're not really into craft fairs. What's up with this? I mean, you can sit on the porch and watch the parade. I don't care about that because our house is right on the parade route. A blessing and a curse because of how loud it is, and it woke me up. And some guy was yelling outside for like a half an hour going, woo! And I'm like, be quiet, I'm trying to sleep. And, but at least we didn't have to take them to the parade. But, it gets so crowded down there, in the state park where they have it. Because of how they have the tents set up, because they're trying to pack in as many vendors as possible, that it just gets to be like you're elbow with people, and you can't really have a bubble of personal space, really. That Russell and I were still not comfortable doing that yet. Plus, between that and we didn't have any money to buy anything anyway. So I really didn't want to go in case I saw something I wanted and couldn't get. But yeah, we were just like, I don't know. I feel like people are gonna be silly about it and go even though they don't feel well, and then they're gonna test positive, and in that sea of people, you'll never know because they don't have like ticket gate entrances because it's free. You can just walk into the park. So it's not like there would be any real sort of contact tracing that would really mean anything. So it's like, yeah, okay. Like, nobody knows who these people are, or what town they're from and stuff. So, yeah, we're just like not gonna go this year again. That's okay. There will be others. But hopefully your test comes back negative on Monday. I mean, that kind of sucks if you had any actual plans this weekend. We really didn't. We don't have any money to do anything anyway, so... I mean, we could have probably tried to have a barbecue, but right now our allergies are so bad. I joke, but we literally have a ragweed forest trying to grow in our backyard, and we keep trying to get rid of it without having to use like weed killer spray and stuff, because I really don't want to do that because the dogs eat the grass and we've got some critters running around in the backyard and stuff. I don't want them getting sick from the weed killer. And every year we cut it down. We try to keep after those areas, and then suddenly we blink and the ragweeds come back, and it's literally taller than us. It's almost as tall as our shed roof out there. It's got to be 6-7 feet tall. And now it's starting to bloom its flowers. And I'm like, no. Why? So, we probably wouldn't want to be outside doing a cookout anyway. But, I mean, our allergies are so bad, we would have masks on outside anyhow just to try to calm that shit down. So... just to make it a little bit easier to deal with. But it's quite the thing. But we're down to one bloodthirsty now for the WoW Challenge's bloodthirsty challenge. So I'm gonna have more time to spend doing beta testing now that beta's gone live. So we got that going on. My husband's gonna try to do some testing when I'm not able to, or test the stuff that I can't bring myself to test. I mean, one of the things I'm probably gonna have to try but you know, we'll see how that goes. All right, where are we at here? All right, so we got kind of that one. Beta is live, so make sure that you're checking your launchers. That went live. When did that go live? That went live on Thursday, I want to say. I'm trying to think because I had a migraine for a couple of days this week. I think it was on Thursday. So now I'm down to just the warrior and the working man. And we don't have to do much prep on the working man. And at least I figured out now why I wasn't getting as many flowers and ore in Shadowlands. And it was my mess up, not Blizzard's. I had forgotten to train Shadowlands mining and flower picking. I thought I had. I thought I specifically showed going to it. Maybe I'm confused and was thinking about the pacifist. But I really thought I did. But we went and trained that up, and now everything is once again giving proper amounts. It was just odd at the moment that I had realized I wasn't, and the timing was just bizarre, so I thought it was Blizzard's issue, not mine. It was totally operator error, shall we say. 100%. But no, beta has started. We've got one new person on the test team for WoW challenges. We think we finally got the permissions sorted out for her to access the Google Doc. Or at least I believe it's a her. So, oh yes, there you are. Hi. I think you're a her. Sorry if I'm mistaken. But you got the posting to work on the beta test page. You did some tests on, copied over to, okay, cool, thanks. Lovely. Yeah, because right now it's a, you know, it's like the name looked like it was a her, so I was assuming, but I know I shouldn't do that, but yeah, okay. You never know with internet handles. A lot of times people think I'm a guy, so it's like no. Because when they haven't heard me speak, they're like, oh, hey, dude, and I'm like, I don't care about that, you know, I grew up in the 80s, everybody's a dude, everybody's guys, you know, that's how it was in the 80s, and the 80s and early 90s, and so I don't really care about that doesn't bother me, but I just think it's funny when people, like, think that I'm a guy when they see my name right off, because I think there's some other male streamers that have a similar name to mine, so I think that's where they're getting it from, but I'm just like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I find it funny, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, so right now it's Lita doing testing, me doing testing, and Annette. So yeah, if you guys signed up for the beta test team for WoW challenges, check your launchers to see if you got into beta, because we could use some help. I don't know how long of a beta test period we're gonna get. I have a feeling it's not gonna be that lengthy, because alpha was pretty damn short. But yeah, I've been looking at Bloodthirsty, and Bloodthirsty I can kind of piggyback into Green Man, because they both wear the same gear for the most part, and I haven't gotten too far into testing yet. I spent an hour with a raging migraine trying to get the UI sorted and fighting with it, and just sitting there and staring at it for like 20 minutes because I was mad, and trying to get it to do what I wanted it to do, and trying to get my thoughts together to give coherent feedback. And then after I hit send on the feedback, I realized I forgot to mention the version of the UI I was trying to make it work in, and I was like, oh, damn it. I didn't want to resend it, so I was just like, fuck it. But there was no way for me to go back and re-edit the feedback. But I could have sent a second report, but I didn't. I'm sure it all comes in anonymous anyway. But, you know, I was really unhappy with how the quest log was behaving with the new UI options on the classic version of it. And it was being a little pissy on the modern version too, and I was just like, no, this is not it. I'm not one that likes to... I play on the default UI most of the time, and I don't like this new default UI. It's so non-existent, I guess. There's not enough places for me to shove stuff. So, I don't know. I think it's still throwing me for a loop that they changed the length of the XP bar. That's kind of... okay. Weird, but alright. I think it's just because they were trying to clean up the UI thing, but I don't normally do, like, Xpearl and Bartender and all that. I just want to get in and play within, like, 5 minutes. And with this one, like, you can save the UI setup so you can use it across other characters. It's just that first initial setup that's irking the shit out of me, shall we say. But, I think that's more of a me thing than most people. But, you hope to have a max level tune in Dragon Isle to get to do the skip and get to dragon riding, otherwise you won't get it on a pacifist. Yeah, I was messing around in alpha and I didn't, like, I wasn't questing in alpha, I was just trying to kill some stuff to do some bloodthirsty testing just to see how bad the mobs were gonna be. And, I saw other people flying out there, right? And I was kind of scattered and a bit all over the place. I'm like, well, why won't my mount fly? And then I saw that they had given me, like, this dragon mount, and I was like, oh, maybe I need that one. So, I opened it and popped on it, and then all of this other UI nonsense exploded, and I had no idea what the hell was going on, because I hadn't done any of the dragon riding training quests, and my mount was, like, stuck just going up in the air, and I couldn't get it to stop, I couldn't get it to steer, and I'm like, what is happening? And I was just so overwhelmed. I was like, fuck this shit, and I dismounted midair, died, and, like, took the res sickness in Hearth, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll be back later. So I just kind of had a bit of a mini meltdown because I had no idea how to make the damn thing move, and it looked like I had to charge things, and I was just like, what is happening? So yeah, and sometimes I can have a little bit of vertigo. Not like Lita can, but sometimes I'll be sitting in my chair and I've got polarized lenses on my glasses, which don't help this sometimes. So if I move my head just too quickly, just ever so in the right way, I feel like I'm plummeting to the floor, even though I'm in my chair. Like, I almost fell out of my chair the one day, and I was like, oh god. I've been standing, like, doing dishes, and I don't know if maybe my neck's just messed up and something pressed on a nerve and that's what did it, but I was just like, I almost, like, turned and, like, fell, and I was like, oh god. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to handle dragon riding, personally, so that's why I'm like, husband, you have to help us, because there's some of this shit I cannot do. It would not be wise for me to do. So, so he's gonna pop on to my account unless he gets beta access. He did sign up for beta. He doesn't have an active account right now, but he did sign up and opt in for beta. So he's gonna help us test some of the stuff. As it was, the soar ability on the Drakthir was a little much for me. I was having trouble with that. Like, I could kind of get it, but then it was starting to give me a headache, so then I had to stop for a bit. But I'm not sure how viable the Drakthir are going to be as irons, to be perfectly honest. I have to look more into it. That's one of the things I've tasked him with. But we'll see. You can do a lot with that in the settings. Okay, I'll have to look at that, because, like, even being on the Mechano-Striders, even though I love the gnomes, the Mechano-Striders, the Mechano-Strider, when you're just sitting, they, like, wobble back and forth, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, oh god, stop. So, yeah, I'll have to see what I can do. I can't do the Sky Golem either, and I felt so bad, because the husband made me one. And then, I was like, oh no, this is not it. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. I'm more perturbed at the UI than anything at the moment. I'm struggling with that. And I understand that Blizzard... One of the things I noticed... Now, I run with a bag mod. I use Bagnon. It's one of my must-have mods at all times. If that and Healbot, if those are the only two I can have. And I don't necessarily use Healbot on my challengers in the sense that it was made for. I will just hit my healing spell on the bar for me. If I'm on a class like a hunter or something, then you know, I still just hit Mend Pet actually, but I prefer having Healbot open on my challengers only because it brings my health bars down closer to my buttons, and I'm more aware of my health than it up in the corner. And I know we could change where our profile, our avatar sits on our screen in the new UI, but I don't want that whole huge square with my picture in it down in the middle of where I need to stand and stuff, because then I feel like I can't see if I'm standing in something. So at least with Healbot, it's kind of transparent and it's just that one bar, and I can slide it off to the side. But that and Bagnon I have to have. And Bagnon, this is another one of my pet peeves with this new UI right now. We're going off on a tangent today. They made it so that they're trying to do things with every expansion, right, that kind of feel like they're trying to incorporate some of the more popular mods or add-ons into the game, so that you don't have to be running so many add-ons. And I think that's an interesting idea. However, and I guess they couldn't do this so that they weren't quite ripping off the add-on creator maybe entirely, without maybe money exchanging hands or something. But the way it is right now, there's a button that you can hit on the new UI setup, or the new option setup, where you can combine all your bags into one bag, kind of like Bagnon, and I think there's another bag mod out there that also does it. I'm just familiar with Bagnon. And that's cool, except the add-on, you can take that block of bags and you can move it around on your screen. The new UI has it anchored to cover the whole one side of your screen. So it blocks your quest log, it blocks action bars 4 and 5 if you have them running down the right side of the screen. It blocks everything on that side of the screen, and you can't move it. You can't unlock this bag window, you can't slide it around, you can't resize it. It's what it is. And I'm like, this is fucking annoying. And I was like, I'll keep running my mod, thank you. But the thing that irks me the most about it, we're just letting it all hang out here, is that Russell and I share a cell phone, okay? We don't have the money for me to have my own, and I'm not really out of the house without him, because I'm petrified to drive, so he does all of the driving. So we're always together, right? If we go out somewhere, or he's out by himself and he has the cell phone with him. So there's no need for us to, you know, completely have to skip meals to pay for a second cell phone. It's not like it's necessary right now. So I don't have the SIM thingy enabled to get those extra 4 bag slots that are locked unless you do. If you don't have those 4 bag slots unlocked and you click the combine all bags into one option in the new UI, it puts the backpack at the top of the block, right? And then, you know, it has your normal backpack slots. And then at the end of the base backpack slots, it goes 1, 2 of the end row. And then the row below it, at the beginning of it, 3, 4. So it's 2 here and 2 here. Have locks over them. In the middle of your inventory. Because you don't have the SIM enabled. Blizzard. Stop it. Just make those bag slots not visible, or put it at the bottom, or put it at the very top and make that the first 4 slots. Put them together. I mean, I understand that it's probably the last 4 of that backpack, but when you hit combine all into one bag, it's in the fucking middle. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, no. I was so mad. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, no. And I'm not going to be able to get those unlocked because I'm just, yeah, okay. I was so mad. I was just like, really? What are we doing? What are we doing? This is not it. And I was just like, so fucking mad. And I was just, this is why it was taking me an hour to get through setting up my bars after they reset beta, and I'm just like, no. I was just so fucking mad. I was just sitting there. Plus, with my migraine, it was making me try to do things like 6 times slower. I wasn't fully incapacitated yet, and I was trying to get some stuff done. Because, you know, right now it's just the 3 of us testing, and Lita doesn't have that much time with work, and I didn't have that much time to do any serious alpha testing. But by the time I managed to get through the stupidity of what I was trying to get through between my own quirks and issues and deal with the UI options that I had been handed, I finally beat it into some sort of submission where I could kind of cope with what I was looking at. And I did start doing some questing. I just did a template character where it made me level 58, I think is what it was. And, or maybe it was 60, it might have been 60. Whatever level I had to be to start the Dragon Isle stuff. And the next thing that I'm hoping is a placeholder, because it was very jarring. You know how when you accept a quest or something, so you got alpha the evening before and was gone from your computer for 3.5 weeks. Oh yeah, that, I mean, it happens, you know, but now that I've only got the one bloodthirsty, I won't be needing like 4 days to just work on leveling for stream. So I've already got the warrior ready for Thursday, so I'll have time the rest of this week to do some more testing and to see things from different classes' point of views. But like when I first went to start the quest chain, right? You know how certain quests or certain areas, when you walk into it, the little box pops up and they've got the little picture of the avatar in the corner of the box, and it has the dialogue text that they're spewing forth verbally, that most of us just close because we're like, yeah, shut up, or at least I do. But they had a text box for Raytheon pop up, and I'm not gonna go into what it said because I wasn't paying the fuck attention to it. I was just like, blah 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 blah. I was still mad from the UI thing, so I was just like, shut up. And because I'm gonna be so sick of hearing this shit by the time we get to live that I'm just it's gonna be like the mall all over again, where I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. I don't want to be in here anymore. I've already seen this 5,000 times. I can't even tell you how many times I had to beta test the mall with all of the different challengers and like irons and like all of the classes and things. So I was just like, yeah, okay. So I'm like sitting there, and all of a sudden it kind of clicked in my brain, something's not right. And I looked at the box again because the voice sounded very strange. It was very bassy to me, or maybe very baritone-y. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's very deep. And I'm like, who the fuck is this that's talking? And then I looked at the text box and it said Raytheon, and I'm like, the fuck? No. That's not right. And I'm just like, Raytheon's voice doesn't sound like this. I'm like, did they replace Raytheon? Like, what is this? And it was so jarringly off-putting. I'm like, is this a placeholder? This isn't actually gonna be Raytheon's talking head box, is it? Because if it is, what the fuck did they do to Raytheon's voice? Did they suddenly like age him up so his voice is deeper now? Like, what is this? And I was very confused. And I'm like, ick. So this is not the voice of Raytheon that I'm familiar with. So I was like, alright, this is weird. I get over to where his, because it talks about coming to find him. At least I think it was Raytheon that was talking. I could be mistaken in my migraine haze, but I think that was him. It could have been a Drakthir, but I thought it said him. And then I found him in Stormwind, because you have to go find him. He's in the library or something to start this quest chain to head into Dragon Isles. I really don't think that's a spoiler, but spoiler, I guess. And then he started talking again when you get over there at his NPC, and it was his normal voice. And I'm like, the fuck is happening? Is this a beta thing? I hope this is a beta thing. I hope that box was a placeholder, because these two voices do not match. And I was just like, did they just get some schmo from the office who was bored just to do the temporary talking head box because they're still waiting on the voice actor for Raytheon to finish it? Like, I hope so, because it was very weird. But good news, and I hope not too much of a spoiler. I did do the beginning quests to get into Dragon Isles. And at the very least, getting into the Dragon Isle is, at the moment, a hell of a lot smoother than it was getting into Shadowlands. Now, I haven't done any questing since arriving and getting off the boat. You do have to take a boat. I don't know if that's going to be our permanent way to get there, or if that was just for the initial quest. I don't know. I haven't had the chance to do much. After I got there, my migraine's like, fuck you, you're done. And I had to go lay down. But I was documenting the quest names and how many there were. And to get from Stormwinds off the boat in Dragon Isle, it was 8 quests. And it didn't involve killing anything. So, that was interesting. I was like, oh, well, this is much different than getting into Shadowlands. So I'm mildly hopeful that, now I haven't done anything since I got onto the Dragon Isle, and quite honestly, the zone that they dump you in is a little frightening, for a challenger, and I was just kind of like looking, and there's like lots of orange and red and rocks and cliffs, and I'm like, oh, okay. This looks like fucking, what was the zone for Cataclysm? What was the zone? Mount Hyjal. It looked like parts of Mount Hyjal, and I was just like, okay. But I haven't done anything since getting there, so I don't know if I can move freely at this point without doing any other quests. I don't know if I can get from one zone to the other. I have to test that. But, yeah, if you don't have stealth, you're not gonna be going far with the pacifist. Yeah, so I mean, maybe it's a thing where the pacifists will have to wait until kind of like Shadowlands, until maybe a skip happens, or maybe they get that one character to be able to fly, to unlock it for the rest of their account or something. That will have to be found out as we go. The beta can change a lot, so that's why we have to go in with a healthy dose of, is this gonna change? This might change. So, you know, we kind of have to be a little, I don't know, jaded's not really the word, a little skeptical? I don't know. We have to kind of go in with like, okay, this is how it is right now. This might change. But, yeah, I mean, that might not be stuff that we find out until things go live or get closer to live, unfortunately. I mean, pacifists can probably, if there's no fuckery with the holiday XP again, get there in the end with maybe vanilla archaeology or something. They might not have to go into Dragon Isles, and I don't even know if there's going to be anything there for them aside from maybe gathering, because we didn't have any archaeology in Shadowlands, but that made sense. And I know a lot of people were a little bit pissy over the fact that there was no archaeology dig sites in the Shadowlands zones, and I'm like, guys, think about it. You're dead. Technically, you're in the realm of the dead. There wouldn't be artifacts to dig up here. Like, that would be weird. It wouldn't make sense. Because technically this is the plane of dead things and not living things, and these artifacts would have been left behind on the plane of the living things, not in the dead things. So it's like, I don't understand why you're mad. Archaeology would not make sense here, to me, in my brain. But, you know, maybe I just see things differently. But, to me it made sense that there wasn't any archaeology stuff in Shadowlands. There's probably going to be some archaeology stuff in Dragon Isles, mostly because of how the intro quests were set up in Stormwind. I feel like there probably will be. They may have already said there's going to be. I have not been looking at a lot of the news coming from Wowhead, because there's been so much of it. Like, every time I turn around there's another post of data mine stuff, and I don't really want to use the data mine stuff as something to form an opinion on, to be perfectly honest, and because the data mine stuff may or may not come to be. They may have talked about archaeology already in the profession stuff. I don't know. If they did, then, you know, I might just sound stupid. But I haven't been looking at a whole lot that's been coming out of Wowhead. Just because, you know, even though I have to do some level of testing and I'm gonna see stuff, I also kind of enjoy the newness of taking that, you know, your first character in and seeing everything for the first time. So that's why Lita's not trying to read too much of stuff that talks about lore, and she's just trying to skip through it. We're just trying to look at the mechanics of things, her and I, to see if this is fucking possible. Right now, at the moment, Bloodthirsty, very possible. Based off of what I saw in the one alpha zone, I was able to kill a few mobs and survive. You're gonna have to figure out what mobs you can get away with, so definitely lots of scouting is going to have to happen. Don't know about irons yet, and I only tested that one Bloodthirsty day on a priest, and I was in the green gear that they gave me because Bloodthirsty can wear the green gear, so I didn't have time to look at multiple classes. I will look at more multiple classes once we get settled in here, and I might stream some of that testing. I don't know. It depends on what the husband's doing and what I'm in the middle of and what kind of mood I'm in, because it's going to be very boring watching me do WoW Challenges beta testing, because I'm going to have to keep pausing to write down my thoughts as I'm going. So I don't know if anybody's really gonna want to watch that, because I'm not going to be like testing it from a normal person's perspective, from a normal character's perspective. I'm going to be seeing if, like, okay, well, what do I need to do here? So, like, I had to keep stopping, like, every minute when I was looking at the Bloodthirsty stuff, because I was writing down every single quest name. Now, I know those quest names could change or be adjusted, but I was still writing them down, and I was writing down the number of how many quests I had done that, up to that point, and the order that they were coming in, and, you know, I was trying to notate if I had to kill anything, or, you know, what was going on. And although I did think that initial quest was broken when I was on the dock, waiting for the boat, because I'm like, boat? There's supposed to be a boat. And the NPC is like, oh, the boat will be here. Well, it won't be long before the boat's here. And I'm like, okay. I think it was approaching 4 to 5 minutes before the boat showed up. And I'm like, my dear, your opinion of what not long is and my opinion of what not long is are not the same. So, I don't know if that's just a beta thing or what, but don't panic if the boat's taken a minute. So, like, it looked like it had been about 3 minutes that ticked off of my fortitude buff before the boat showed up after I started that quest. So, and it was me and one other person from Stormwind on that beta server that got on the boat. But when the boat arrived in the Dragon Isles, there was like 50 people on that thing, and I'm like, where did all you people come from? So it was very interesting, and I was just like, oh my. But yeah, so it's like, okay, there's some interesting sharding happening here, I guess. But maybe that's what was taking so long for the boat to even get there. I don't know. It takes a hot minute for that boat to show up. I almost logged out and logged back in thinking the boat was stuck, like sometimes it would do for Borealis. Because at one point for Borealis, I was waiting almost 15 minutes for the boat to show up. I heard the bell ding, like it had arrived, but never saw the boat. And this boat did look similar to the Borealis boat, just so you know. It was still sort of had that, what was it? I want to call them the Corinne Tor, and I don't know if that's the right name, because that's the Darlaran people, or the one Darlaran faction, but... What was the name of the faction from Borealis? Was it Kurantor?
For where?
The Borealis allied race? Something with a K, wasn't it?
Are you talking about Lich King?
No. Battle for Azeroth. I know the Darlaran faction was Kurantor, but I'm trying to remember the other.
No idea.
I don't have this allied race unlocked, that's why I can't remember. You know, like the beefier, taller dwarfs. the allied race from Borealis. I can't remember their name. You all know who the fuck I'm talking about. But I was starting to think that it was like one of those situations, and I was about to log out and log back in, and then the boat showed up, and I'm like, okay, so it's just a longer not long. So like not long, I was thinking, oh, 30 seconds to a minute, and then when it was like approaching like 3 minutes, I was like, is this broken? But we just started a level 60 human hunter to try Iron Man on. Just trying to find white items in Stormwind now. Cold Tyrants, there we go. Yeah, see, I'm a little dyslexic. Kurantor. I had the letters. My fucking brain. I had the K and I had the T. That's all I had. Oh, Kurantor, Cold Tyrants. Yeah, so I had part of it right. Boy. Oh my goodness. My dumbass. See? I get confused. This is why we make all kinds of notes for things. This is why. Oh my goodness. Alright. I have a shit memory, and I'm kind of dyslexic, so... And it always sneaks up on me, like, I'm not severely dyslexic, but I am dyslexic to a point. I love flipping numbers all over the Everlovin place. So if I'm not completely focused on what I'm doing, like Russell will catch me reading out a number and he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, no. And I'm like, that's what it said. He goes, look at it again. And I'm like, what? And I'm looking, I'm like, oh. Because it won't be the whole number. It'll be like the last 2 digits. Or I'll read something and I'll take the back half of the sentence and I'll flip it and put it in the front half of the sentence. And then I'm sitting there looking at the sentence. I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. This isn't a coherent thought. Like, what? I'm like, make it make sense. And then Russell will come over and read it. And he's like, reads it to me. And I'm like, okay, my brain got dumb. So, taking tests was always fun. I kind of pissed off one of my teachers the one day. Or at least severely confused him. Because they handed the tests back that we had done. And it was actually like a multiple choice test, right? Where we had 4 options. And he was going over the test in class. And I studied my ass off for this test. I felt good going into it. And they were going over the answers, and I couldn't understand why my grade was so low when I got it back. I'm like, I was really upset. I was like, but why? And so they're going over the test, and he's asking the questions out loud, and he was standing next to me, and he asked this one question. He was like reading along with the test, and he goes, "What's the answer to this?" And I raised my hand. I said, "This." He goes, "Then why did you put that?" And I'm like, "Huh?" And I'm looking at my test, and I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm like, I was so confused. And that was before anybody had actually explained to me what was going on. I had been in child study teams, special education classes for a while, and they had only ever told me directly to me that it was because of my short-term memory issues. And I'm like, okay. So, like, a couple of years ago, I said something in front of my mom. She's like, "You weren't in there for short-term memory. You were in there because you were dyslexic." And I'm like, what? I'm like, it suddenly makes so much more sense now. I'm like, nobody could have, like, you know, told me this and made sure I understood this, like, years ago. She's like, no, they had you in there because you're dyslexic. Thanks, Mom. Like, that was information that I needed to have. Had I had this information, and I think that was the year, I think that incident happened the year after they had taken me out of those classes. They graduated me out of the program when, like, at the end of 7th grade. And I had been in them since, like, 1st, 2nd, I think. So they would always pull me out of, like, English grammar class. Nisey, are you the one that writes all the articles for the website? Yep, you bet. So, you know, that happens. And, they, like, graduated me out of this program in 7th grade. And so when I got to 8th grade, I was just kind of, like, thrown into the deep end of the pool into all of the classes that I had not been in all those years. So I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And of course, like, my first, like, English class, English grammar, not English speaking, that they threw me into, well, I mean, all of it was English speaking, but you know what I mean. It was, like, English lit, and we were, like, doing, like, book reports and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so we weren't really talking about, like, hardcore grammar placement. We were doing more reading than anything, and, like, tests on what we read. That changed when I got into freshman year in high school. And oh, was I woefully ill-prepared. I don't know why they put me in the classes that I did. Yeah, the high school I was in had, like, either general classes where your GPA was so low they didn't know what to do with you, but you had to go to school or else you would have been in trouble for not going, basically. College prep classes where they just keep heaping the work at you. Although that could have been my dyslexia and my inability to focus on anything, because I would have, like, 5 hours of homework a night, easy, just about every night. And then there was the advanced placement classes for, like, the super smart kids. So I get into my first English grammar class in freshman year, and the teacher's, like, yelling, "Open your books to this, and we're gonna do this," and I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what is this? I felt like he was speaking in another language entirely, And I was just sitting there and I'm like, deer in headlights. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And I was just like, oh shit. And all I could do was sit there and just like try not to hyperventilate about, I am lost. I don't know what the fuck he's going on about. I don't know what the hell he's saying. Diagram a what? And I'm just like, what is happening? And it was like one of those nightmares where you show up naked for a test and you don't know any of the material, except I wasn't naked and I had no idea what was going on. And I'm just like, help? And then they're like, okay, for homework tonight, you're gonna do this, this, and this for this, this, and this. And I was just like, oh God, I'm gonna fail this class. And it was like double pressure because I had to go to private high school, so we were paying to be there. So I'm like, if I fuck this up, my parents are gonna be pissed. So I'm just like, oh shit. So I mean, you know, like, talk about all of the pressure. I was like frantically digging through that fucking textbook for homework, and I'm like, please tell me there's some sort of sample of what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. Like, it was terrible. And I'm like, really? You took me out of the classes that were gonna show me how to do this shit in like 4th grade. Because everybody else was like opening their textbooks, they were writing, they knew what the fuck was going on. And I'm just like, am I in the right class? Like, it was wild. But, you know, thanks to programs like Grammarly and other free punctuation checkers, I can run stuff through that and be like, how woefully terrible did I butcher this? I still have an issue with commas, though. I'm like, commas seem kinda like, it must be so hard to deal with stuff. Yeah, it was not fun. It was not fun. And my dyslexia really started to shine in algebra. That was god awful, because you had to do certain procedures in certain orders, and if you didn't do it in the exact right order, you'd never get the right answer. And so I was tanking so hard in that class, and I'm just like, I can't with this. Like, I can't. This makes no goddamn sense. And I'm like, and other people are going up to the board and they're like, show your work, and they're showing the work, and I'm like, but that's what I did. And I'm like, but I'm not getting the right answer. And then the teacher's like, well, if anybody needs help, you know, I'm here after school. And the one day I decided to arrange for my ass to stay to get help, she wasn't there. And I'm like, this is just a giant conspiracy theory at this point, right? Like, you're here any other day that I'm leaving and walking through the hall. The one day I arrange for a ride to pick me up late, you're not fucking here. Really? She's like, you don't have to make an appointment, you can just stop by. And I'm like, okay, I'll just stop by. And she wasn't fucking there. And I'm like, fate, what the hell? Could you just not? Could you not? I mean, ugh. It was a god-awful mess. And I had pneumonia one year, and I was out for almost a month. And we had to watch a video in the one class, the one religion class, because it was a private Catholic high school. I didn't really have much of a choice. And what the fuck was the class? It was the morality. Was it morality of religion or some shit? Whatever the class was titled, I was just like, really? And the teacher was making us watch some kind of movie. I think it was Dead Man Walking. And I had missed, like, the first half of the movie. And came in, like, on the last half hour or something that he was showing. And then we had to write a paper on it. And then there was a test or some nonsense. And I'm like, I am so lost right now. I don't even know what the hell's going on. And because it wasn't a movie that I normally would have watched. And I'm just like, I'm like, this is dumb and all of you are dumb. And I don't want to be in college prep classes. I'm not going to have the money to go to college. And I don't even know what I want to do bad enough to put myself in that much debt to go to college for. And I don't really want to be rushed into this decision. So can I just, like, be in, like, regular classes? They wouldn't let me drop down to general classes. They told me my GPA was too high and they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, really? So, like, what do I need to do? Do I need to, like, tank all of my... Do I just need to purposely tank all of my classes to get you to drop me down lower? Is that what I need to do? Because I'm like, at this point, don't tempt me, because I will. They were already starting to get there as it was. It was damn ridiculous. So ridiculous. I don't know how half the people in my grade managed to pass. Because this one teacher we had, he was a new teacher to the school. And I grew up in South Jersey. And he was saying that he had taught in the Philadelphia school system. And that's, I guess he was trying to imply that he could handle a bunch of rowdy kids. Because, you know, inner city Philadelphia was a lot rougher than our town outside of tourist stop Atlantic City, right? It wasn't quite as rough as some of the surrounding towns, which were sending districts, which is why I ended up in the private Catholic high school, because my mom didn't want me going to the sending districts, because my brother was a cop in the area, and he's like, no, she's gonna get her ass jumped. So that's how I ended up where I did, and I'm just like, I don't want to be here. And I would have killed for online school at that point, but it wasn't really a thing. The internet was just becoming a thing. Like guys, I grew up with dial-up internet was introduced, so it was a novelty. And not everybody had a computer, and most people were still using typewriters, or they had to go to the library or use the school's computer lab to type up stuff if they didn't have any other access to anything else. So, I mean, it was a bit different then. I would have killed for online school at that point, because I was just so over the bullshit happening at this private school. I was just like, no, I'm done. So, it was so stupid. And this teacher would go on and on about how, you know, he taught in Philadelphia, and you know, none of us were gonna intimidate him. And I'm like, you're talking to a bunch of jocks and preps that, like, 2/3 of the school is on sports teams or something, and they're not really being intimidating. You're just not handling the class. And I kid you not, he would put our homework assignment on the board for that night and let us start it at the beginning of class. It took him 20 minutes out of a 40-minute class to do roll call, because the class was walking all over him. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? How are we gonna get anything accomplished in this class? And me with my lovely learning issues. And I'm just like, can we please get to the point here? Because I need someone to verbally explain this shit to me if I'm gonna have a chance of understanding anything that's going on. And he maybe taught for 10 minutes in the class. Every class. And I'm just like, is this how you taught in Philadelphia? Is this why you're not teaching there anymore? I was just like, why? What is happening? These kids are not afraid of you. These kids think you're a pushover, and they're gonna just keep walking all over you if you don't start laying down the law. And I'm just like, really? I was like, you keep saying that you taught in this inner city school district, and now you're in this touristy suburb school district, and you can't even control these kids? Like, I'd be sitting there trying to start my homework, but you can't concentrate in a room full of kids that are just being loud and the drone in the background. And I'm just like, I fucking give up. Like, why? It made no sense whatsoever. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, I guess the only good thing about it was that we didn't have to do gym. We had religion class that substituted gym. And, because I hated PE. And, it was something. I had a science teacher that was mercy passing me because he knew my dad. And I'm just like, just fail me. Just fail me. Give me a D. Just fail me. Maybe then they'll fucking drop me down to classes where I can understand what the hell's going on. Like, I was in this weird vacuum, and girls having, dyslexia and learning disability issues at that point was still kind of like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, it was still a thing where it was mostly viewed as issues that affected boys more than girls. So, like, I'm like drowning, and I'm like, hey, I need help. Something's not right. I'm not understanding any of this. And they're like, oh no, you're fine, and you just need to try harder or some shit. And I'm like, what? It was so dumb. It was so dumb. I'm just like, I want to go back to my special ed classes. Cause, no, this ain't it. Like, this makes no damn sense whatsoever. It was so dumb. And I think it would be different now. Like, Russell and I have some suspicions about what might actually be going on, but we're trying to get his issues sorted first before we look any further into mine that are definitely becoming more coming more to the surface as time has been going on. But we have some ideas about what might have been there all along that just nobody wanted to say, yeah, hey, I think this is what's going on. So, can't go back and change the past, but, and I don't know what knowing for sure now would really do, because it's not like I'm in a school situation where we could change that, but it might be, I don't know, explain some things if we do know now. I don't know. So, level 16 white gear in only 6 slots, plus a level 16 bow is not a good idea in Dragon Isles. Eye level 7. Wow. Yeah, see, that's the hard thing with beta, because, like, not all of the vendor stuff is there. Are you able to... See, I don't even know what zones are open in beta. If you're able to... see if you can get to Darlaran in Northrend. And I don't know if that is going to help you at all, because I don't know what the vendors might have for sale, but I do remember there being some kind of vendor there that that sold some kind of hunter weapon. I can't remember if it was a bow or a crossbow or a gun or something that might have been like in the 20s, maybe. But again, it's beta, so I'm not sure if you can get there or if it's there. I would maybe cross-reference Wowhead for the retail version and try to use their gear filter, because you can set it to whites and grays and vendor, and maybe do some hunting to see if you can find that vendor to get something a little better in a different zone aside from Stormwind. Maybe? I don't know. Just a thought. Alright, so we get this put in here. Alright, so yeah, like I said, this section was gonna take a hot minute to work on. I mean, it's not exactly the right angles, but it's something. I do want to come back in and fill this in a little bit more in here, though. This I'm okay with these breaks, because we're gonna probably be bringing some grass down into here. I kind of want like a yellowy version of this, so I might have to dump out the bag of poofs and see what shades we got going on there, because I've got like yellow and I don't know. I mean, I guess we could use the yellow and just kind of mix it in if it comes to it. I suppose that's an option. But we'll see. So I'll probably be able to, let me see, what's today? Today's Sunday. I'll probably be able to look at a little more testing stuff tonight. Depends on if the husband decides to do any testing tonight. Last night he asked me if I was in WoW, and I said no, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna start looking at stuff. And I was like, alright. And we loaded up my launcher on his PC, and then he's like, oh, I have to install it. So he started installing it, and then that's as far as he got, and I was like sitting here kind of stalling, working on the podcast stuff, and I was like, what you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm working on a map for D&D. And I was like, that's not testing. And I'm like, so are you like done in WoW? Or he goes, oh, I had to install the beta and then I started working on this. He's like, so I didn't actually get anything done yet tonight. And I was like, okay. So, because I still had my warrior that I needed to finish up getting ready for Thursday. So I was kind of like dragging my feet on the show stuff, waiting for him to finish, and then he wasn't even working on it. So I'm like, okay. Right, so I'm gonna take WoW back in a few minutes. He goes, oh yeah, that's fine. You okay? Mm-hmm. Alright. So you will check that out as well, as now you can't kill anything alone. And when I say anything, I mean the two kind of flying things you have in the first zone after the... Oh god, I haven't even looked at those yet. Oh man. Yeah, that's not good. I know killing stuff in Shadowlands as an iron was almost impossible for some classes. Almost. A lot of the Irons ended up doing what was considered like gathering world quests, or world quests that didn't really involve killing anything on your own. And there was only like 3 or 4 of those. Thank you, loud vehicle. And so that's why a lot of Irons, when they hit 50, kind of like stuttered to a stop almost, because they had to wait for the world quests to cycle through, depending on the class they were. I know hunters could kill the one moth, or 2 of the moths, depending on what level you were, out there in the white gear. But that was about it, I think. So it's gonna be interesting. But I mean, we also had the mall skip, where you could go into the world quest storyline. So I mean, I do wonder if we're gonna get something similar, because Blizzard loves their grinding world quests, where you're just constantly churning through the world quests daily. It seems, ever since that became a thing, that seems to be the MO, I guess. So I don't know how they're gonna handle endgame. I mean, it might be that we won't find out till live, but yeah, this is why we were so concerned. Like, a lot of people think that Lita and I were just over exaggerating when we were testing the mall, and that it's not really that bad. I couldn't get an iron past like the 3rd quest in the mall. Like, when we got to the that damn escort quest, I was dying on a bloodthirsty, and I'm like, I'm in green gear. So her and I took every single class up against that escort quest. And every single time we were just like messaging each other, and we're just like, I don't know about this. like we thought that we weren't gonna be able to get to 60. Like, it was that bad. Like, we were like, oh shit. So and there hadn't been any talk of maw skips or anything at that point, and I don't think Threads of Fate had even been a thought at that point. Like, I don't think the world quest came option, or the world quest option came in until you had someone to 60. And then we started hearing murmurs of it, and then we finally got to see it towards like the very end, and we were like, oh, maybe, but I don't know about this. And so there was a lot of oh shit going on there. So I mean, we'll have to see. Fuzz, get off my nose. Thank you. I don't want to inhale you. Thanks. We'll just have to see, because they did tone down the damage that was being put out by that escort quest quite a lot between beta and live. I know I gave all kinds of feedback about how this damage was bad, like it was too much. And so that did get adjusted down. It was a lot worse than what you guys saw in live. we were shocked actually that that it did get toned down, because we're like, this damage is crazy. Like, no, I'm getting 2 shot. Like, this is ridiculous. And I shouldn't be getting hit by every single mob when there's 6 NPCs standing here. Like, that was another issue that we were finding. But, you know, we'll have to see. Like I said, I've been trying to make a list of the quests, especially for Bloodthirsty, because we're going to have to keep track of that, at least in the beginning stages, to see what might have to be allowed, in case we don't get a skip. But they've been pretty consistent with putting in some sort of skip as time has gone on, but it doesn't seem to happen right away. So, challengers might have to cool their heals a little bit and work on a normal character anyway. Because that seems to also be the thing of where, well, if you get through once, then all of this shit unlocks, and then you can go do this. So, I mean, people might just have to use that normal character as a scout or something, which is what I do, to give me an idea of what I want to avoid and what might be doable. To kind of feel the things out. But a lot of people just only want to work on challengers, so it's like, well, there's gotta be a give and take here. And if they're gonna block you from getting access to the stuff that would make your challenger life easy, at least think of it as a scout, to pre-plan how you want to go after these things when you get there on your challenger. You have heard something about a skip being implemented for Dragon Isles. I mean, that would be lovely. And I think they're gonna have to do it. And to be quite honest, I was rather disappointed with the skip that they put in for Shadowlands. Because I thought that that was gonna skip, you know, even the Ouroboros nonsense, but it only cut off the mall. And while I'm glad it did cut off the mall, because that allowed the pacifists to be able to get out into Shadowlands to gather, Bloodthirsty still had to quest. So I was like, well, I mean, it's something, but it also being forced to do all that stuff in Ouroboros that just felt like busy work when the substitute teachers in class felt kind of like Shatrath when you first get there and you have to follow Khadgar's minion around that walked at a snail's pace. And I was just like, really? I mean, by the time you've done this 6 times, it gets annoying. Like, I was annoyed by it by the 3rd skip I did, and I was just like trying to rush through it. I'm like, okay. But that mall, I'm like, Blizzard, why would you make people go through this every time? I was like, your alt people are not going to be happy about this, because I'm on my 3rd character of having to play through the start to finish, and I'm already over this shit. Like, maybe I just don't have patience anymore, but I was just like, no. This is dumb. Oh good, they did have the bow. Alright, well that should help a little bit. I mean, I don't know how much it's gonna help, but it's gotta be better than the level 16. I would hope. Alright, just get the little fuzzy dews. Alright, so we've got that. Alright, so we're gonna have some grass coming in here, probably down into here. Down around in here. Okay, that's probably good for that for now. Let's see about all. So, like, since it's fluff, you can like compact it flat and it doesn't look like there's nearly as much there. So it's all sad when you've squished all the air out of it. But at least it makes storage a little bit easier. But now I'm like, damn, I need to fluff some more chocolate brown. Alright, so he did the dark, right? And then he came back and he did his highlighty thingies. So let's go back to the tutorial. There he's making the highlighty color. And here he's just kind of, I guess we'll go with slathering that in. Now he did take the brown and mix white into it, but he also mixed a little bit of blue, which kind of, I think, gave the impression of that gray color. This is gonna look almost white. What color was this? Soft gray? I think we need to go with medium gray, because this is too white against that. Hang on. We need a different color here. I'm not happy with that color. Let me go back to the fluff wall. Hey, little. Hey, Zuzu. Let's see. All the critters are in here right now. Hi. Are you being a good boy? It's gonna be a while before dinner. That's what he's looking. He's giving me the side eye.
No, they're getting something from your mom.
Oh, okay. Did she not make dinner yet?
She just finished.
Okay. I gotta figure out my dinner. I think I took a piece of chicken out, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. I figure we'll put the highlights on this, and then we can save coming back in with the other grass and stuff for tomorrow. Alright. So, yeah, I think I feel a little bit better about using... Maybe we can combine these two. Maybe? Let's see. I can pull a little bit of fluff off. And kind of see if I can just kind of mix these two together here. Oh, it's staticky. My earbuds are popping. That's interesting. All right, let's see here. It just seems like too much. I still feel like this is too bright. Grab a little bit more of this dark stuff. Like the dark looks too dark and the light's way too light. But using the camel in here is not gonna work, I don't think. Right, well, we'll see. Where are we at here? So we'll have to go a little bit slow. Feels a little solid though. In some spot, like he kind of like wisped it over. And I'm surprised he kind of went with this grayish color. because he usually goes with more of a like a camel color. Camel, not camo. C-A-M-E-L. Like the tan color. Yeah, I think I definitely want... I think it's gonna have to be a combo of the two in here. But that's a little thick in that spot, so... I don't know, maybe we do go with the light gray. We just have to be super stretched out with it. Have to see here. Yeah, because the dark gray just kind of fades in. Don't really see it. It looks more of a shadow than anything in there. So I guess we're just gonna have to be, we're gonna have to go with this color a bit in here. I have to treat it like we did our mountains from that first one, where we try to make sure that we've got kind of like how I guess we did our tree leaves in here, where we've got some air pockets. So it's not super not super thick. I don't want to cover all of it. And some of the thinner lines will kind of melt in and vanish a little bit. But we might have to spend a little extra time making sure that we're tapping all of those little fibers through to get that effect. Because it's supposed to be a highlight, not let me get rid of that because that's got color contaminated in it. That's for me mixing those two shades together. So yeah, it's a highlight, so we don't want to completely take over everything. More yellow fuzzy bits. Alright. Just pulling off sections, and I'm not making this a tight weave or a tight twist on this. Alright, so this is going to take a little bit of playing with to kind of get it to where you're going to be happy with it. And I will probably end up bringing some more of like the grass color, like down into here a little bit, and maybe down into here. Maybe. If I feel like I've got a little too much yellow trying to peek up through. Without going a little too heavy-handed on these rock highlights here. Alright, we gotta make sure that it doesn't look like tree rings either. Still want some of this dark showing, and then, you know, we're gonna have the stream coming in here too somewhere, so I don't think he does that until after he retouches some of the grassy bits though. We should be okay in that respect, so we should be able to bring some more grass down to the edges. You gotta go to bed. Alright, cool, no problem. Thank you for helping out and testing. Trust us, we greatly appreciate all the help that we can get. Because not everybody has, like, not everybody is strong in every challenge too, so it also helps to have multiple thoughts coming at us. So thank you very much for your help, and you have a good night. And I will probably get to some testing later tonight. I'll probably do a little bit of testing, and then I need to do some more video editing, and I'm gonna have to start planning out our gingerbread house project soon too, getting the sketch prototype done. But that can wait a little bit. But yes, you have a good night, and thank you again. Alright, so we're just gonna work on getting these little highlighty guys, try to get them in here as best as we can. So if you go too wispy, it starts to look like a straight line in there, so I'm gonna have to be a little more beefy with the amount, I think, just so it doesn't look like a straight line that we just sewed through there. That might take a little, we might have to layer that a little bit, just to kind of get that look off of there. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of playing. But I think it'll be worth it in the end. And don't forget to come up for air and to take a look at where you're at, so you don't overdo it. Because I do know that there's spots where I kind of overdid it. on the last piece we did. And I wouldn't mind doing that one over again, but I'm not going to right now. But there are parts of that one that I would like to, excuse me, redo there. Alright, so down in here, and I don't want to use white for this because we're going to have that stream coming in, and I think we're going to be using a bit of the sky blue and the white more than likely for that, so we want those colors to be visible so they don't just fade off into the background here. So now that I'm putting this in, I'm thinking we probably should have made this brown a little bit thicker maybe, but what was she doing for dinner anyway?
Spaghetti.
She made you go to Harps to make spaghetti?
No, she made me go to Harps for cigarettes.
Oh. How silly of me. I should have known that. Had I been a little more coherent when I woke up when you went to go get the distilled water, I probably would have told you to wake her up and ask her if she needed anything else. Alright. Do I need to make you dinner tonight?
No.
Okay.
I had myself a burrito earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where you disappeared to. Alright. So work on getting this one in. Like, I don't want to neglect one side over the other, so I'm kind of bouncing back and forth here a little bit. Alright, so let's see. How are we looking in the camera here? Let me click off of the tutorial. Alright, that's not terrible. So I'm a little bit more zoomed in than I was last week, just so we can get a better look at what's happening. Alright, so I do have a bit of yellow peeking up through here. Let me grab this. Come back here. We've got fans on, so the fluff is trying to fluff everywhere but where I want it to go. I'm sure I'll find some of it stuck to me after I finish cleaning up. I did that the one day, scared the shit out of me, because it was either black or dark green or something. It was a dark color, and I have a thing about bugs being on me or near me, and I had gone out into the kitchen and I was about to start making dinner, and I looked down and I saw this like long thing that was like about this long that was, you know, darker than this, and I was like, oh my god, what the fuck is this on me? I was like starting to have a meltdown, and then I realized that it was yarn, so, you know, that happened. I was like, right. Somebody decided to hitchhike onto my shirt. So get this kind of tapped into here. Yeah, like I said, the stream is gonna be somewhere in here. But I can't guarantee that the stream is gonna cover any of our other unfortunate colors shining through, so I have to be a little bit more careful of how we work this in here. Right now it's just a dry creek bed. That we're kind of putting together here. I'm actually thinking we might need a little bit more brown in there. Maybe? I mean, that's a lot of yellow poking through there. Oh, careful. I almost broke my needle. Don't want to do that. Alright, don't forget, you can snip this stuff. Whether it's the roving or the yarn. You can snip it down smaller if you need a smaller piece. It's just fluff. It's totally fine. But yeah, I would rather fix this bit now than have to worry about fixing it later. Alright. It'll just be easier in the long run. Although I'm pretty sure like the little waterfall thingy is probably going to be sitting on top of that. So this could be for nothing where it's going to get covered up. Hi, little. What you doing? Are you okay? Yeah? Okay. I turned and looked at her and she started meowing at me. Meow? What's the matter? What? Hi. Oh, are you wanting attention? Is that what that look is for? You're gonna have to wait a few minutes. Because I really don't want attention with your teeth, so you're gonna have to wait. She's a bitey thing. Not in a mean way, it's just she's still very much kitten. And I guess with her learning kitten things on the street, because we found her. Somehow she was alone at our car wash down the street, so nobody was looking for her. Didn't see any parent cats anywhere around, didn't see any other siblings around, and it was very odd. And she was frantically meowing in a panicked tizzy and trying to eat dead leaves off the ground, so we're like, well, I think she's hungry. Which then started a 45-minute to hour escapade of trying to capture her. Because as hungry as she was, she didn't want us to touch her. She was very much stranger danger mode. But she's starting to follow me around quite a bit. She likes sleeping at the foot of the bed, and if Russell lays down in our bed, she'll lay down at my end of the bed, and I never know she's there until I accidentally kick her. And I'm like, kitty. I'm like, wait, what did my foot just hit? There was nothing there earlier. She just kind of looks at me, and she's like, meh. It's like, okay, sorry. I did not know you were there. One of these days I'm gonna end up accidentally knocking her off the end of the bed. Let's see how we're doing here. Alrighty. Okay, so grab some more of our light gray. It's coming along. It's not doing too bad here. I mean, we've kind of got the idea that it's sloping down in. Kind of, sort of. You know, at least we don't live right next to the state park, because then I'd have to be worried about the music from the square dance competition getting picked up by my microphone, and then I'd have to worry about the pod getting muted and shit. So it's good that the state park's, I mean, it's not that far from here. It's like a 2-minute drive, if that. But at least the sound from whatever they're doing is not reaching this far. Because they're doing exhibition dancing and they're doing competition. I kind of feel like that parade that they did was a bit short. And I also don't understand the age range for the one pageant that they held, because they have beauty pageants like for this fair. It's Arkansas. I guess they consider themselves part of the South, even though they're like the North-South. And then there was a beauty pageant for the county, and this one kid was apparently in the parade. Somebody took a picture of them. And, the sign on the car that they were standing next to said that they were, like, Miss Toddler of the county or something. And I'm like, toddler. What age range does toddler cut off at? Because she honestly looked too old to be a toddler in my brain. Like, what age does toddler cut off? Is that like 4? Because this looked like either a very tall 4-year-old or they were 6. Like, I'm not a good judge of age on people, but this did not look like a toddler. And I'm like, I mean, maybe kindergartner? But what age are you in kindergarten? I don't remember. Because they do pre-K down here, and pre-K wasn't really a thing. I mean, we went to preschool, which was just kind of like a glorified babysitter. But, like, some of the pre-Ks around here are only like half days, and we were there for like a full ass day. Like, I was there a full ass day. Like, I got dropped off at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was there till like 4:30, 5 o'clock at night, so I was like one of the last kids picked up. But I'm just like looking at this kid and I'm like, you're a fucking toddler? What? She just looked too big to be a toddler. But yet too little for how she was riding in the parade. I wouldn't put her past kindergarten. And apparently, they had her sitting on a blanket that was then placed on top of the hood of this bright green Mustang as she was sitting there waving at the crowd. Now, I mean, parade speeds are gonna be slow. But she was sitting up there with no adult. And I'm just like, what adult thought this was a good idea? It only takes a second for a tumble to happen. Or for the blanket to slip. And I'm just like, at the best it would be like a bump on the head and maybe a scrape. Maybe, but still, it seemed unnecessary to risk that. And I'm just like, no, this is not okay. This is really not okay. I would have been a little bit better if a parent had been sitting on the hood with her. Or if it looked like she had some kind of harness that she was strapped to keep her from falling off. Neither of those looked to be the case, and I'm just like, oh, I don't have kids, but even I can tell you this is not okay. And like, so many people were like, oh, she looks so adorable, and I'm just like, this is not okay. And apparently Russell and I are like the only ones that were like, no, this ain't it. And I'm just like, oh man, am I just too overprotective of somebody else's child? I'm just like, what? Like, no, not cool. Not cool. I mean, I get nervous enough when the littles are in the back of moving pickups, sitting in a chair, throwing candy on some of these floats to people in the crowd when they like try to stand up out of their chair, but at least they've got an adult sitting back there with them. But I mean, no, this was not. I'm like, number one, the hood of that car is going to be hot, which is why I think she was sitting on the blanket. Or maybe they didn't want her boots to scratch the paint, which was probably more likely what it was. And I'm just like, wow. All right then. Maybe I'm just different. Thank you, loud vehicle. And I'm just... Maybe I would be like the worst overprotective parent in the world, but I'm just like, no. What we're not gonna do is that. Okay? No. This ain't it, friends. And I would probably show the picture, but it's somebody else's child, and I don't want to do that, so that's not cool. Although I don't think I would allow a child that young, if they were mine, to be in a beauty pageant to begin with, but that's just me. I mean, I guess it's a southern thing? I don't know. Don't know. But it was just terribly frightening. And then to have so many parents be like, oh, she's not adorable. And I'm just like, nobody's gonna mention the fact that they didn't think this was a good idea. Really? Like, okay. Alright. I guess I'll just go back in my little corner. And pick up all the candy wrappers that people let get away from them. We're all over our front yard. I mean, maybe the city should have, like, placed a couple of trash cans here and there because they knew there was going to be trash from people. I think they're expecting a little too much of the people around here to take their trash home, to be perfectly honest. But then again, I don't know if having trash cans placed in view would have done anything. I've seen people leave trash right next to a trash can, like 2 feet away. And I'm like, you couldn't walk your lazy little ass over there and put your trash in the trash can? Really? Really? How disrespectful. And then you don't know if it was from people in town or if people that were out of town that just came to watch the parade that were going to the fair. But even so, if you were from out of town, you should be even more respectful and, like, not be a dick. Don't leave your trash everywhere. Like, come on. You guys... See, here's the thing. They brought, like, so many people brought plastic shopping bags with them to put the candy in that was being thrown from the floats. You couldn't bring an extra one for trash. Like, what? Why? Just why? I'm just... Okay. Sure. I don't get it. I probably never will. I don't know. Maybe there's something in the water here. And that's why I just don't get it. I suppose it's one of those things we'll never know the answer to. I'm just like thinking in the back of my mind, these are southern manners, huh? Well, alright then. Sure. It's just like, wow, okay. Okay. I don't get it. And this is probably gonna be a little too big in here. Maybe. Oh, well, maybe not. I don't want it to completely cover that. I guess that'll work. Alright, so we're almost done putting in our highlights here. Alright, let's get a little bit more fluff. We don't need a whole lot. We do need a little bit. So through a lot of this, where this lighter color is, I'm gonna try to tap in some grass, at least to a point. 'Cause I don't think the water is gonna come up quite that high. I actually think the water goes this way, if I'm remembering correctly. I think there's a little bit of water down in here. But I can't fully remember. A lot's happened since I last watched this one all the way through. I mean, we could look at the end piece here real super quick, I guess, and see. Okay, so it comes over, but not as far as I was thinking. There's like a little bit, starts kind of like back in here, and then kind of meanders, and then kind of comes out, and then kind of comes back down this way. So there's going to be more land here, and there's going to be more land here, and then this big old hunking tree that just covers everything that got done back there. Don't know if we'll make that tree quite that tall. When we come back in and do this, we'll see. I'm not anticipating it being quite that tall. Like I said, I still want to get a lot more grassy things put in there. And it looks like there might be a little bit more yellow. I mean, I've got this color. This might be a little too minty. We'll have to see. How that starts to look here. Alright, so we need to get a few more highlights. Oh, let me move that. So we get a few more highlights down in through here. I mean, it's not looking too bad so far. I mean, it's still sort of in its hot mess stage, but it's starting to come together. And this whole mess in the middle is starting to make a little bit more sense now visually. Starting to. I mean, we still got a ways to go. But, you know, we're getting there. Alright, so these are still a little wispy, but not too wispy. I don't want them to turn into just lines that look like they were sewn in. have a little bit of life to them. So this section in here is probably going to have some grass coming up in between these shadow lines in here. So we are far from done in this section. Now this section probably should have been a little bit shorter, but you know, as always, I misjudge things, so what can you do? That's alright. It'll be fine. Like I said, we're not going for exact copy here. We're just kind of going for something similar. Alright. Because, I mean, we're not gonna get a full exact copy with what we're doing. But we can try to get close. No reason why we can't try to do that. Just kind of making sure everybody's good and attached in here. Some areas looked like they needed a little bit more attention, and that happens. That part's fine. Alright, I'm gonna flip this guy up. And again, this is just something that I do. You don't have to do this. Just kind of flattening the back out here as best as I can. Oh, got some extra loose fuzzes there. I'm just gonna stick that in my extra fuzz bucket there. Our fuzz depository for the ones that have too many colors smooshed into them. Alright. Let's come back over in here. Let's get back to work on this side here. Alright, so again, we're following along with the Season 3, Episode 3 of Bob Ross's Joy of Painting tutorial series. Serials? I don't know. Is series the plural on that? I guess it would be. And you can find the tutorial in its entirety on the Bob Ross YouTube channel. I have the tutorial in pause because I cannot do this as fast as he can paint. So we definitely have to take some pauses and work through different sections as we go. That's just how that is. But for anybody that wants to see the tutorial in full, you can find that here. And we've already done episode 1 and episode 2 of season 3. And you can find that on the YouTube channel. The link should be somewhere below. It's the same name as here. And it'll be on the Nisey Paints playlist if you're having trouble finding it. They are multi-part live streams. I think the first one might have taken us maybe 12 or between 12 and 14 live streams to get through, and the last one took us 13. Not sure how many live streams this one's gonna be needing. It might be a little deceiving because the one day I had to stop after we were only about an hour in and we had to go run somewhere, and then I came back after dinner and started again, so that was sort of like a part A, part B kind of day. Alright. But we now have 2 art days a week, so we're able to hopefully get through the projects a little bit faster, because we'll have more time each week to spend on them. And I'm planning our seasonal. First time we were not really. Oh, is it the first time we're doing a seasonal project? A specifically seasonal project? Maybe. Maybe. We're gonna needle felt a gingerbread house. We're gonna try to needle felt a gingerbread house. I still have to pick up some embroidery floss and some more felt squares. And there is at least one shade of yarn that I would like to pick up that I don't have. It would be a little bit like in between this dark brown and the camel color. I'd like more of a mid-range brown to do the gingerbread out of. And if I have enough money, I would like to get a little mini set of lights. I might not be able to do the fairy lights like I wanted, because all of those that I was seeing were a little expensive for my budget. But I might be able to do just mini LEDs. I think the tree size cone that I picked up for that should probably work. Hopefully. Alright, let me peel this up. Start to just get this guy flattened back out here just a little bit. Okay. And you know, our edges get a little wobbly and a little wonky as we go, but we can try to clean that up in the end. And also, if it ends up getting put in a frame, you're not going to see the very edge anyhow, especially if you end up sticking a mat on it. This will end up going in the Etsy shop eventually. I don't frame or mat these ahead of time. I just sell the piece. I leave that up to whoever wants to buy it to find the right matte color and frame color or frame material that's going to fit your space the best. And I'm also afraid that the glass will break in shipping. So that's why, I mean, I can stick bubble wrap around it till the cows come home, and I'm still not convinced that the glass won't break in shipping, and I don't want it to break in shipping on this because then it's going to get embedded in the fuzz, and I don't want anybody cutting themselves accidentally, so it's just safer to ship it without the glass. Now, I know some people do ship stuff with glass, and if you're comfortable with doing that, that's great. I'm not. So, I mean, it's not like it's a painting or a print or something where if the glass broke, you could just shake it out and just replace the glass. But this would be a lot harder to shake the glass out of. Alright, so we're almost done on these highlights. And then my butt needs to go get some dinner. I just realized how late it actually is. See, we get talking and we get working and I lose all track of time. Like, I'll look at the time and I'm like, oh, we've only been going for like an hour, and then the next thing I know, it's 3 hours later and I'm like, oh shit, no wonder I'm hungry. Alright, I think I need to make more spaghetti sauce this week. This might be a week of cooking. I didn't really feel like cooking this week, but I don't know if I want to make spaghetti sauce or if I want to make bread. I'm gonna have to pick one. Oh, I've got to make cookies too. I forgot about that. And while I don't have to make the cookies, if I don't make them within the next few days, I'm gonna have to throw the box out, so I don't want to throw out cookie mix. That's just crazy speak. Alright. So we've got a few more floofy spots to tag in here. We're getting there. We're getting there. I will say it does feel like it's starting to push this stuff back a bit now that we're getting the highlights in, so that's good. Pretty happy with where we're sitting at the moment on this one. Alrighty. This all worked in. And like I said, I'm probably going to be having some grassy things poking up in through here, more than likely. Looking at what the end game result was going to look like. And, you know, it's our piece. If we want the grass to come right down to the edge in spots, that's our prerogative. Alright, we need just a little bit more of our floof here. Ah! Fluff's getting unruly. Alright, so I'm getting this piece kind of worked in that way, because I mean we still want some of the dark areas of the rock still shining through. We don't want to completely cover all of that up. Not what this is trying to do. All the point of this was just to simply attempt to put in some rocky highlights here and there. Although he really went to town with his rock highlights, I will say. They were just kind of all over the place. Oh, right. So again, for those that are new here, I live on a busy road. Like the main road that goes through this town. So we get all of the loud traffic, and insulation and soundproofing on this house, not the greatest. It was built many, many a moon ago in the 1920s at some point. I guess before soundproofing a house was really a thing. So the loud traffic comes right on through. Not a whole lot I can do about that. I don't think those black sound squares that you can put up are really going to do much for that. And nor do I have the money to get any, so we'll cope with the traffic noise, that's fine. Besides, those squares are definitely not going to drown out the ambulances and police cars and fire trucks and stuff that go by. Yeah, that's just silly talk. Alright. Yeah, no, it's really coming together. I'm really happy with where we're sitting. This one feels like it's coming together a little bit faster than the last one did, for sure. But I am liking this one pretty well so far. I don't hate it, which is always a plus, because it's still a bit in its hot mess stage, but it's starting to come out of the hot mess stage. It actually is starting to look like something that makes sense. So let me flip this guy over, and kind of reminds me of like pulling those like Biore nose strips off your face. Alright, so let's see where we're at here. Let's get this extra fuzz here pulled off. Alright, so it's not, we're not doing too bad here. I am zoomed in so you can't see the very bottom, but the very bottom's about here. We're not that terribly zoomed in, but yeah, no, that's looking like something. It's looking decent so far. So tomorrow, we'll be back working on this again tomorrow afternoon. And we'll start to bring in the rest of the grass, and the grass will bring it down into the rocks a little bit in here, and fill in some of these other gaps that are poking through. That'll be tomorrow's goal. And we'll see how we get on with that. I kind of wish this was a little bit darker. It looked like it was gonna be a little bit darker when we were putting it in, but not quite as dark as I was hoping for. But I really don't want to go like hunter green dark, like up in the tree. I think that would be a little much. I might need to see if I can find that dead grass brown color that I had found in the floofy stuff in the bag, and we'll pull that out tomorrow and see about adding a little bit more of that in. And I think I want to beef up the grass still up in here. We'll give the grass another pass. But yeah, so that's what tomorrow's goal is gonna be. And so thank you guys for hanging out with me this afternoon. Let me see, is anybody I know doing anything? No, nobody I know is really on. So, and I'm starving, so I think we're just gonna call it a day here and go eat. But thank you guys for hanging out with me this afternoon. Appreciate it. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Taco, I hope you test negative tomorrow. And I hope that you're feeling all right. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Happy Labor Day and all that jazz. And have a good one, you guys.